In 1964, Title VII was passed, which prohibits disparate treatment on the basis of one's race, color, religion, sex, or national origin with respect to compensation for work and the privileges of employment, but sexual orientation and gender identity were excluded from that ruling. In 1974, Representatives Belle Abzug and Edward Koch first proposed the Equality Act of 1974, a bill that would have banned discrimination based upon sexual orientation, marital status, and gender in public accommodation, housing, and employment, but it failed to pass. Later on, this bill was redesigned as the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, which also failed to pass in Congress. As of this day in the United States, no federal law against discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity exists. This means that employers can choose not to hire queer employees or include actions such as denial of promotion, exclusion from a social function, or lack of provision of benefits. They can make these decisions as simply as looking at a queer woman and deciding that she's not feminine enough for the job. 48% of the LGBT population lives in states that don't prohibit discrimination as a result of orientation or identity. Only 20 states and Washington, D.C. have explicit laws that prohibit discrimination against both. Even in those states, enforcement is lax. To date, the federal government in the United States has failed to recognize the importance of passing federal employment protections for queer employees. Hiring statistics are worse for LGBT+ women. According to a Harvard study, there was evidence of hiring discrimination against LGBT+ women in 3 out of 4 regions, regardless of whether the region had laws against discrimination or not. A study from 2016 found that perceived LGBT+ women were 30% less likely to get a follow-up interview than a straight woman. Once queer people get the job, they often try to take steps to prevent mistreatment from happening.
Hey, so I didn't say anything about being bi because I didn't think it was anybody's business. And I also didn't want anything to change.
I get it. I'm sorry I was so nosy.
But many have also left jobs because the environment was unwelcoming. Harassment, physical violence, and demeaning jokes are all major issues that queer people face in the workplace. 52.8% of LGBT+ people report that discrimination negatively impacted the way they felt about their workplace. LGBT+ women are especially susceptible because in most professions, women are already being discriminated against for their gender. This has been proven to negatively impact the mental health of employees. The lack of regulation and protection is harmful to many LGBT+ individuals, especially ones who deviate from society's idea of what a queer person should look like. A Black trans woman living in poverty will face more discrimination and not have access to the same protections and services as a wealthy white gay man. There is no direct impact on college students, but there are many LGBT+ students who are or will be looking for employment in the future. They have the same qualifications as many other applicants and shouldn't be denied employment or security in their workplace based on their identity. It's discouraging to get a degree and still be unable to find employment. So what can be done? We can work for better conditions for the well-being of employees. Most of our lives are spent at work, so it's important that there's a level of personal satisfaction and happiness. We can create safe spaces for the LGBT+ community and create an environment that composes self-acceptance and positive relationships with others.
I'd like to request discretionary funds to start an organization supporting Black, gay, and lesbian police officers. They never actually said no, so I just went ahead and did it.
Doing so will help employees see their potential for personal growth and work towards goals they value and create an optimistic working environment. The Employment Non-Discrimination Act has been proposed in Congress many times since its inception in 1974. By passing this act, there would be more federal protection for LGBT+ workers.